Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Jai Srila Prabhupada. In the reading of Chaitanya Bhagavat, we read that Lord Brahma is an expansion of the Lord, and from Bhagavatam we know that he is a Guna Avatara. And Avatara, by the word, means that somebody who is in the spiritual world, he descends to this material world, right? So, but Brahma, as we know, he's always in the material world only, right? So I just wanted to confirm. Sometimes he's referred to as an expansion, sometimes as a avatar. What is the real fact?
Um, Avatara doesn't mean only the Lord who descends from the higher realm. Avesha Avatara is something where the energy of the Lord is invested into it. Okay. So Guna Avatara is nothing but certain energy of the Lord is invested in those, you know, entities who are actually taking the role of Guna Avatar. So Vishnu is directly the Lord himself. Lord Shiva is also Isha, who is in charge of the mode of passion. But Brahma in this case is the living entity who is invested with the potency of the Lord to create. So he is Shaktavesh as well as Gunavatar. So Gunavtars don't exist in the spiritual world because there are no gunas in the spiritual world. There's no modes of material nature existing in the spiritual world. There's only Vishuddha Sattva. Everybody is situated in pure goodness there. Okay. So Gunavtaras are specifically for this material existence.
So how about the word expansion used in this regard in the today's reading in Chaitanya Bhagavat?
Okay, so what was the context? If you can just read the sentence, which sentence you are referring to, then we can.
I don't have it open, Prabhu, but I can remember it was mentioned like Lord Brahma is the expansion of the Lord. So you should not laugh or I think some criticize or something. That was the line which was the instruction of the Lord to those babies, 6 babies who were who after drinking the milk of Yashoda.
Okay. Uh,
Not to
this is actually
criticize
a
Lord
universal
Brahma.
principle. This is a universal principle not only for Lord Brahma, but any great personality apparently does something which is makes him a laughing stock. Still, one should not make fun of him because that makes a person. Anyone who makes fun in that way becomes actually degraded to the demoniac. So this is actually a universal principle, not only in case of Brahma, but even any great personality. If they do something uh, which apparently may not be appropriate, like even in the case of Chitraketu Maharaj's pastime, you see, he didn't really make fun of Shiva. He simply joked, you know. He was actually amazed. But because he made a statement which apparently uh, was perceived offensive, Mother Parvati actually cursed him. So therefore, a great soul, and Prabhupada actually explains in this regard also that Lord Shiva, even if he's preaching to sannyasis and having his wife seated on his lap, doesn't make him the object of ridicule or to be joked about. So this is actually a universal principle. Any great personality, uh, Vaishnavera, especially for all Vaishnavas also, the Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyena Bhuja, it says the actions of great souls or Vaishnavas is not to be judged by their limited intelligence. Then we will be committing offense and we have to face the consequences. So though these were the sons of Marichi, originally they were actually sons of Marichi. Marichi is a great sage, he's son of Brahma. But because they made fun of Brahma, and Brahma was doing something inappropriate, not that he was doing something great. He was actually doing something undesirable, inappropriate thing. because they made fun of him, they laughed at him, they degraded into demonic species. Because this is a demoniac nature to make fun of somebody who's actually being troubled by material nature, and make fun of him is actually demoniac. Like
So
to, if a
my
person
question
listens
was, yeah, I understood that point, Prabhu, the pastime and the significance and how it was related in context of Lord Nityananda. I wanted to understand why here Lord Brahma is referred to as expansion.
because avatars are always considered expansions. They are in the category of expansion. And even if you considered not only Brahma, consider Brahma only a living entity. Even living entities are expansions of Krishna. Technically, everyone is expansion of Krishna. We are called Vibhana Amshas, you know, and Vishnu Tattvas are called Swamshas. So, technically speaking, every living entity can be referred as expansion of Krishna because we are Amsha. So, the only difference is Swamsha and Vibhana Amsha. So, not only Brahma, you can say every living entity, even, you know, all the living beings in this world, human beings, animals, birds, insects, everyone is actually Amsha or expansion of Krishna.
Got the point, Prabhu. Thank you so much. I also wanted to ask another question, but it is, I think, common doubt which was posted in the group, which we can discuss at the end after others have discussed their questions. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have one question.
Very good.
Dhanat Prabhu. So, in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, so you referring, Narad Muni says that Brahman, personification of Brahman is living in your home. Is there any significance why Narad Muni used Brahman as opposed to Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Which one you are referring to, Prabhu?
In Brihad Bhagavatamrita 78 or 78, I think, Narad Muni says to Yudhishthira that it's fortunate that Brahman person, I don't know the sentence construction, just let me read.
Yeah. Okay. So this is generally whenever you see the Vaishnavas or the devotees use the word Brahman for the Supreme Lord, that is generally to reconcile all the masses. Like Shukdev Goswami in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, when he's actually glorifying Krishna's pastime. Now, he has already explained all the subject matter. Right? But when he is actually glorifying Krishna's pastime, he is using the word Brahma. Itham Brahma Sukhanubhutya. So he's using, even when he's glorifying Nanda Maharaj, he's saying, in the home of Nanda Maharaj, the Supreme Brahman is actually performing his pastime. So this is generally to, cover all the people who are assembled, because even when Shukdev Goswami is narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Parishit Maharaj, there are also great sages, and some of the sages, they were attached to impersonal Brahman. So in order to make them understand, this is Brahman to whom you are attracted to, who's actually playing in the home of Nanda Maharaj, who's playing with the cowherd boys. He's actually the Supreme Brahman. So similarly, when Narad Muni was instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj, there were a lot of kings and different people present during the Ajsuya Yajna. So there is actually referring, maybe, even if it is when Narad Muni is visiting Pandavas, might be some people who are present there, who are actually attracted to Brahman. So therefore, sometimes Vaishnavas do use the word Brahman for the Supreme Lord. And sometimes it is only to make it a little more poetic. The description about the Lord a little more poetic, uh, to attract the people who might be reading those descriptions later, to if they are attracted to the impersonal conception of the Lord, to understand that this is actually the source of that impersonal uh, feature of the absolute truth, which is actually serving the great souls like Pandavas. I hope that
Thank you, Prabhu.
answers your question.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, also, if I remember correctly, Brahman comes from the root brih, which means great. So anyone great could also be referred to this thing.
Hello, Prabhu. This is Aniruddha Nitya Das. I had a question on Chaitanya Bhagavat. So, in the discussion, and kind of aphorism is given if Nityananda Mahaprabhu is married to Muslim girls, right? So, actually, Prabhu, nowadays intercaste marriage has become fashion, especially in some places in India and also in other places. So, but why? I mean, this has been brought like an example. Is it like to show that the person get degraded if he does such intercaste marriages? And but Nityananda Prabhu is kind of above all this. I mean, what was the purpose of like giving this example? And what like it wanted to imply actually?
Actually, it's difficult in modern times to appreciate because nobody really understands the significance of these things. But in Vedic culture, to preserve the family traditions, to preserve the sanctity of the family lineage, it was very much desirable to have the marriages done in their appropriate family traditions. Intercaste marriage was there in the Vedic culture also, but very rare. Like you will see when King Yayati is getting married to Devyani, the daughter of Shukracharya, it was considered intercaste marriage. It was unfavorable intercaste marriage. There were also favorable intercaste marriages which were appreciated, but there were some unfavorable intercaste marriages also which were not appreciated. So King Yayati's marriage with Devani was actually pratiloma, which was considered unfavorable intercaste marriage. So that kind of marriage was very rare. Generally, people would very much preserve the sanctity of their lineage, because when the intercaste marriage happened, like in this case, for example, King Yayati getting married to Devyani. So Devyani is from Brahmana family. So people who live in Brahman family, they are actually accustomed to uh, the pure principles, following the purity and certain principles, which nowadays nobody really cares to, because nobody really follows any purity. The whole civilization is more or less malicious or unclean. Nobody really follows the standard of cleanliness. But there was a distinct visibility in the lifestyle of Brahmanas and Kshatriyas and Vaishyas and Shudras and lower than Shudras also. There'll be distinct visibility of their lives and traditions and everything that they follow. And even among lower than Shudra, there were different castes, and those castes will also maintain their sanctity. They would not generally marry with anyone. They would generally do marriages, but even those castes, lower than Shudras would have their Kirat, Una, Andhra, Pulinda, as Shukadeva Goswami explains in Bhagavatam. They would also marry only among their own caste. But now, because in Kali Yuga, that tradition is not there only, you really don't have any caste existing. Nowadays, the marriages only take place on the basis of financial status. A person, people generally try to look the financial status of the family should be similar like ours, which is actually a very unfortunate state. In Vedic culture, that was absolutely not given any importance. And not that not given importance, but in general, it was not given importance. You will see many times the daughters of great kings, they were married to sages. That was a anuloma marriage, which was the intercaste marriage, but it was considered a good marriage. So in this way, you know, the sanctity, to maintain the sanctity and to have good progeny in the family, it is essential to actually have maintain that caste of marriage. Marriage should not be done in the generally should be tried to avoid in the Vedic culture to have the intercaste marriages. But in Kali Yuga, because in current state there is no caste left. Nobody really practically knows what is their caste. So it's actually immaterial.
Thank you.
Prabhu, among the devotees, could you also mention?
Well, in devotees also, especially in Kali Yuga, there is no importance given, because most of the time marriages take place simply, even among devotees, most of the time it takes place on basis of some superficial, what do you call, aspects. Oh, this person is chanting and looks good, that's okay. But in Vedic culture, the marriages would actually take place with great consideration. Especially, you see there are a lot of even divorce cases among Vaishnavas. Even when the guru arranges the marriage, still there are divorces, right? Why? Because the consideration is not properly accounted for. Especially matching of the horoscope is one of the very crucial aspect of marriage. And especially in given situation now, because the divorce is allowed. In Vedic culture, there was no divorce. So whether the guna matched or not, the woman knew that once she's married, she is going to spend the rest of her life with that man. And man also knew that once he's married to a certain woman, that woman is lifelong, his wife. There's no question of divorce. But in given current situation, it's actually becomes much more crucial and important to match the horoscope. Simply because somebody is chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra doesn't make the person transcendental. He or she will become transcendental in due course of time. But at current, it's not. And that will actually impact their situation in family life.
So, Prabhu, so
Prabhuji,
you're
in
saying,
some cases, people don't even have the record of their date and birth time, date and time of birth. So in that case, horoscope matching is just not possible.
So then they can actually simply depend on Krishna. There's no need to, if there's not there, not there. You can't really do anything about it. Then they can truly depend. They have no option but to depend on Krishna. Vijay Prabhu, you saying something?
yes, Prabhuji, I was telling that. So if the horoscope details are available, then you're saying that the combination should be based on horoscope, and that's a proper thing. That's what you're saying, right?
That is to begin with. Yes, there are also other considerations come in place, but that is to begin with. Of course, in today's day, and age, because people are so much worried about the financial status, so it's also advised, to, because in ancient times, the men and women both were trained. The men were trained to be gentlemen, and women were trained to be chaste and faithful. But there is no such training. The men are not trained, women are not trained. So it's very difficult to adjust. Even if there is no financial stability, then the woman generally will not be very comfortable to stay with even such a person. Even if They know that they are married, but they still won't, and similarly, if the men are also not trained, so therefore they don't even feel comfortable. Little bit inconvenience with the woman, they just want to get rid of relationship. So uh, first, to begin with, the horoscope is matching. That means even if other factors are not in place, mostly the two people would be actually able to live together. That is so helpful, because that basically um, analyzes that the two people will be actually able to tolerate and live in harmony with each other. So even if the other factors are not so favorable, if the horoscope matching is good, then there is every possibility that they will be able to sustain the marriage.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, if the horoscope has some kind of dosha, like somebody might be manglik or something, so as per horoscope, another he or she has to marry another manglik person only, right? So in case of
Yeah, but
devotees,
that's
also
all
all this,
horoscope.
all those devotees also
That's all
have
part of
consider
horoscope.
that. They have to consider all that, or
Yes,
it is said that
they do actually.
that lines of our fate is changed by devotional practice. That's what it is heard, right, from everyone. So
And there's no two opinions about it. Yes, when a person actually takes to Krishna consciousness, the lines are changed, but they are not changed as per our expectation. Okay, so if a person thinks, okay, even if the horoscope is not matching, but I'm attracted to this person, so if I'll get married, everything will be all right. No, everything will not be all right. Lines change in the sense that the person, even if he has severe karmic backlog, Krishna will adjust that karmic backlog. Even for a neophyte devotee, Krishna does adjust, but not as per our expectation. We should try to follow the, the system set by the Supreme Lord. So the system that is set for marriage is to actually have the proper uh, horoscope matching. And Prabhupada also insisted actually towards the last final years, few years of his life, presence in this on this planet. Prabhupada actually insisted that marriages within ISKCON should be done by matching of the horoscope.
Very nice point, Prabhu, about the it won't change according to our expectations. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, from this point, if we have the option of marrying a girl to a devotee boy or materialistic boy, if the horoscope matches with the materialistic boy, and uh, and the choice is A or B, then what should we exactly do?
Sachin Madhav is asking very tricky question. To be honestly speaking, I've seen the consequences of even the devotees, so-called devotees, practicing devotees actually getting married, and their alliance has been suggested by their guru, and they both have same guru, and yet they end up in divorce. So my suggestion still would be, if the horoscope is matching, that should be considered as the first option. And
Okay,
of course,
thank you.
one can set the expectation right in the family life before even you enter into relationship. Set the expectation right. I've been practicing Krishna consciousness. It'd be nice if you can also practice. If not, then it's still okay, but don't expect me to not to practice. And in general, when the horoscope is matching, that means generally it happens is the other person also does take to Krishna consciousness.
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Kapila Mataji is also raising hand from a long time, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I want a question. Have a question about Srimad Bhagavatam. So 1.3, we just start with Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srila Prabhupada and his purport talking about different rasas, like Vatsala, Sakya, and so on rasas. And then he's saying such rasas are displayed between man and man, and between animal and animal. There is no possibility of an exchange or rasa between a man and an animal. But now in our present life, Kali Yuga life, we can see that some people are really um, attached to their pets. Like they have more feelings to their dogs than to wife, for example. So how can you explain that there is no races exchange between man and animal?
Well, when you're talking about the rasas, especially the four rasas, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, we understand there is definitely no possibility of Madhurya rasa between animals and human beings. And how can there be Vatsalya rasa, the rasa of parenthood between the animals and human beings? And similarly, a friend and servant. Animal is not perceived as a servant or a friend. Animal is perceived as simply an animal. Like even people have dog at home. Dog cannot do really service to them. They have to do service to dog on the contrary. Dog cannot do any service to them. So in general, when you're talking about the servant, servant means I ask, bring me a glass of water. The servant will bring the glass of water. I tell the servant, to clean the home, to vacuum and mop the floor. The servant can do that. Or sometimes even, other rasas, the husband and wife can order each other, or parents can order the children to do something, or children can ask from parents something. That kind of relationship is not possible between animals and human beings. That relationship is, it's could be based on some affection, some feeling, but there is no exchange of rasa. A rasa that I can relish with my children, I cannot relish with the dog or the animals. Of course, in nowadays people get so frustrated with the relationship. You know, you can remember, one of our relatives, had three children, and all the three children, they left because they wanted them, parents wanted the children to get married to their choice, but the children had their own choice. So the parents said, okay, we'll not give you any inheritance. They said, keep with you. We don't want your inheritance. So then they started keeping dog at home.
Yes.
So, but that rasa that they can experience with the children, they cannot experience with this dog. Still, when it comes to inherit the property, they don't put in the name of dog, they put in the name of their children. Eventually, these, I'm talking about these relatives, they eventually went back to their children. They had a dog at home, and dog could actually, they sit, get up, walk here, the dog will do everything. But they cannot exchange the rasa what they can exchange with the children. So this exchange of rasa is not possible. Animals can have same rasa, like I think Radhan Maharaj was giving one example. He had seen a dog, a female dog. Actually, she was hurt and injured, and still collecting a piece of roti and going back to the children to nourish them. He had personally witnessed that. So that rasa is possible, only between animals and human beings and human beings.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, one question that is been why do we put mat while serving deities? Why do we put mat under our feet? Or why do we stand on mat rather?
Yeah, because in general, whenever that happens, other family members are in the temple, other people are also present. So offering asana is considered the token of respect. A person who's serving the deities, like offering arti, the person is given a token of respect that he is uh, higher than everyone. Not in the sense that he's higher than everyone else, but he's given a higher platform because he's engaged directly in the service of the Lord. It's like, in also when Srimad Bhagavatam class is going on, the speaker is given the higher seat. Okay. At least, even if they are on the same ground level, he's given at least small asana or mat to sit on as a token of respect. Anyone who is engaged in the service of the Lord is given a token of respect, that because he's directly engaged in the service of the deity, he's naturally higher than everyone else. But a person who's offering service, he always thinks that he's unfit or not qualified to do the service. It's only by the grace of all the present Vaishnavas he's offering their devotion on their behalf to the Lord. So this is actually two way to understand. The people in general who are present, they should understand that because the person is serving the deities, the Lord directly, he's given a higher seat, a higher platform, and in the form of a man. But a person who's offering service, he knows that he's offering devotion on behalf of everyone present. It's not none of his qualifications.
Okay. So no other reason, because if we are doing at home, it's just me. It's just at home. Do we should
But it's
we
still,
also?
it is always recommended to stand off the ground. It's not just for you, for others to be visible. It's a etiquette. When you're offering service to the deities, you should have some beneath you.
Okay. So
So that
still
should be
in
the
even
general
in
practice.
the okay, still at house also you
Even
should be standing on mat.
yes,
Is it just for Aarti or Prabhu, even while serving Bhoga and everything?
for everything.
Okay.
Sirisha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Sorry, Mataji, I didn't see your raising hand. Prabhuji, I have one question on the Vaishnava etiquette. So, one should not eat before bath. Is it for cleanliness or hygiene or any other specific reason, as spiritual reason, anything?
Actually, according to the scriptural rules, a person who has not taken bath, anything he touches becomes contaminated. So therefore, it said when a person is eating something without taking bath, everything he's eating is a mala. Mala means contaminated food. He's eating only impure foods. Now, there are references in the scriptures like, uh, you know, if a person has not taken bath, if somebody else feeds him, with his own hands, then it's okay. A person who has taken bath feeds, like, Bhimsen once told Mother Kunti, he had come from outside. He said they were in the forest. So he told Mother Kunti that I have not taken bath. So they were all sitting for a meal. He said, okay, Mother, if you feed me, I don't have to take bath. So if you feed me with your own hands, then it's okay. I'll not take bath. Nobody has to wait for me. We can simply sit and eat. Otherwise, it's actually not, especially for Vaishnava, it's not recommended because uh, you contaminate the food. The more some material nature work in a way. Even if you're eating prasad will have its own potency, but the more some material nature will also pull down the person's consciousness.
Prabhuji,
And definitely, for cooking, it's not at all allowed. One should not ignite the fire without taking proper bath.
so Prabhuji, that means we can take this as for chanting also. Maybe it's not fasting hard rules. As you said, everything contaminated. Maybe we can try to do bath before chanting also, right, Prabhuji?
It's good to do, but for chanting, you should know one thing is the holy name of Krishna is all powerful, and there is no rules and regulations set for chanting Hare Krishna. For Gayatri Mantra, yes, definitely you have to take bath. You cannot chant Gayatri without taking bath. But Hare Krishna Mahamantra, namna makari bahuda nija sarvashakti tatrarpita niyamitaha smarane na kala. There is no niyama, there is no kala restriction for chanting the holy name.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
It's not the person who takes bath and chants and a person who doesn't take bath and chant, they will have difference in results. No. The person who chants attentively, even without taking bath, will still have, same result as the person who may be taking bath and chanting attentively.
But Prabhu, in
Hare Krishna,
one
Prabhu.
instance in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was, just waking up, and then Mahaprabhu brought Mahaprasadam, and then he immediately took it. So he mentioned if it is a Mahaprasadam, then it should be taken immediately, irrespective of time, place, and circumstances.
Yeah, that's right. So, in case of Mahaprasadam, that is the exemption. The exemption is there. If
Prabhuji,
somebody
but on
is especially
Ekadashi,
bringing
sorry, Prabhu, continue.
if somebody is bringing Mahaprasad from a distant place, from some holy place or holy tirtha, and happens to come and give you Mahaprasadam in the hand, then one should not consider those dualities.
Prabhuji, on Ekadashi, if grain Mahaprasadam is given, we should refrain, right?
We can accept it, but don't eat it. We can honor it still by offering respects to that grain Mahaprasad, but not eating it. Eating is forbidden, even for Mahaprasad.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. What about the children's Prabhuji? If they don't take bath and if eat before bath, is it okay for children's?
But it's just a matter of putting habits in children. If you don't put them habits from childhood, it will be very difficult for them to change the habits in the later stage. So the children should be put a habit, especially once they grow to the age of 5. You can start putting them before the age of 5. That's okay. They can take, without taking bath.
Okay.
But after the age of 5, that rule should be enforced in the home.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, we said like we have to take bath and Gayatri, right? Even afternoon also, like we have to take bath. 3 times you have to take bath.
At least once bath taken, that is good. And as long as the person has not used toilet, I mean, going to especially pass 2 or cutting hair or cutting nail, all these activities are, one must take bath after that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji's and Mataji's, if everybody has asked their questions, I can go ahead with my last questions. Is anybody having more
Go ahead.
questions?
Go ahead, Mataji.
Prabhuji, there are 2 questions. One was from my reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, first verse of the first canto, first chapter. In that, there was a sudden reference of Vritrasura, which I couldn't understand, so I will read that lines. Some Mayavadi scholars argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, and some of them suggest that this book is a modern creation written by someone named Vopadeva. In order to refute such meaningless arguments, Sri Sridhara Swami points out that there is reference to the Bhagavatam in many of the oldest Puranas. This first sloka of the Bhagavatam begins with the Gayatri mantra. There is a reference to this in the Matsya Purana, which is the oldest Purana. In that Purana, it is said, with reference to the Gayatri mantra in the Bhagavatam, that there are many narrations of spiritual instructions beginning with the Gayatri mantra. And there is a history of Vritrasura. Anyone who makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life by returning to Godhead. So here I didn't understand why the mention of Vritrasura is made here, and then suddenly about the giving Bhagavatam on full moon day is mentioned. Is it connected incidents, and what is the context of why he was mentioned here?
This is the reference from Matsya Purana. Matsya Purana is describing that there is a literature called Bhagavatam which begins with Gayatri mantra. There are narrations about Vritasura in that literature. And if somebody gives gift of this literature on full moon day, these are all description from Matsya Purana. So Matsya Purana describes Bhagavatam reference like that. So Prabhupada is just repeating those references from Matsya Purana.
Okay, so he wants to link that the pastime of Vritrasura, which is mentioned in Bhagavatam, it's also mentioned there, and it's also about the gifting of the Bhagavatam on a full moon day. So that significance of Bhagavatam, it is also mentioned there.
These entire references that Bhagavatam begins with Gayatri, Bhagavatam has Vritasura's description, are coming from Matsya Purana. Matsya Purana describes like that there is a literature called Bhagavatam, which begins with Gayatri mantra, which contains Vritasura's narration. So this is coming from Matsya Purana. Prabhupada is simply repeating that sentences from Matsya Purana.
Okay, Prabhu. So in our group, we were posting some like Vijay Prabhu also posted a extract from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu about the Shanta Rasa. And then even I was reading in Srimad Bhagavatam in the introduction about transcendental devotional service has 5 stages of reciprocation. So my understanding was that since it is talking about 5 stages of reciprocation, and the wordings used also seemed like one can progress from one rasa to another. But Vijay Prabhu mentioned something else. So I wanted to have a clarity. What exactly is the concept? Vijay Prabhu, could you tell what was your understanding? And
Yeah, Prabhu. So, I mean, it's when I read that, I understand it differently. Is that progression of different stages mentioned, just like we have the higher stage mentioning where after prema we have so many different stages. I forgot up to Mahabhava. So like that, the rasas are also mentioned in progression of stages. I did not directly see Prabhupada mentioning that within a person there is a progress of the rasa. That's what I mentioned.
Yeah. So in general, Madhaji, the understanding is a person, whatever rasa he is situated in, he will be completely satisfied in that rasa. Hanuman knows that Madhurya rasa is the highest. Not that Hanuman is in ignorance, but Hanuman never aspires for himself being engaged with the Lord in Madhurya rasa. So there is no progression in that way. The progression is only from analytical point of view, that uh, you know, the rasa situated, a person situated in Shaktaras and a person situated in Dasyaras. Dasyaras is actually progressive or higher in one way. So in general, you don't see a devotee situated in one rasa progresses from that rasa to another higher rasa.
Prabhuji, can I read the exact lines? Because it gives me an indication of that. So I didn't understand why. Because as you mentioned the example of Hanuman, I was totally satisfied with that. I'll just read out these lines. It says, transcendental devotional service has 5 stages of reciprocation. It says about stages. And then the first point is the self-realization stage just after liberation from material bondage is called the Shanta or the neutral stage. Second, after that, when there is development of transcendental knowledge of the Lord's internal opulences, the devotee engages himself in the Dasya stage. Third, by further development of the Dasya stage, a respectful fraternity with the Lord develops, and above that, a feeling of friendship on equal terms becomes manifest. Both these stages are called the Sakya stage or devotional service in friendship. Fourth, above this is the stage of parental affection towards the Lord, and this is called the Vatsalya stage. Fifth, and above this is the stage of conjugal love, and this stage is called the highest stage of love of God, although there is no difference in quality in any of the above stages. The last stage of conjugal love of God is called the Madhurya stage. So, hearing this, reading this, Prabhu, it looks like it's a progression within a same person.
Now, Mataji, this may be seen from two perspectives. One is, as you know, as Vijay Prabhu also mentioned, that it's only progression in terms of uh, the rasas. Another thing is in the material world, the living entity who's conditioned by the 3 modes of material nature, has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. So that revival of the relationship happens gradually. It doesn't happen overnight. That today I am ignorant and tomorrow I know that I am actually Gopi in Golok Vrindavan. No, that doesn't happen like that. So in the material world, the revival of one's Swarupa happens gradually. So a living entity who's conditioned by the three modes, he's in the body concept of life. First thing that happens is the clearing stage. The illusion goes away that I'm this body. And the person understands that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. And that is what is referred as their Shanta. But the person, if he's situated in Madhurya Prem, in Golok Vrindavan, he's not going to stop there because that doesn't satisfy him. Like this is exactly what we read in the second part of Brihad Bhagavatam. Gopkumar's journey is instructive about that. Since Gopkumara was a cowherd boy from Golok Vrindavan, though when he attained Vaikuntha, he attained Dasya Rasa, he was not happy or satisfied there. So it is Swarupa or constitutional position of a living entity which develops gradually. So anyone, constitutionally every living entity has a relationship with Krishna in a particular rasa. So if a person has a relation with the Supreme Lord in Dasya Rasa, he's not going to go to the Madhurya Rasa because that's where he's constitutionally related with Krishna. He'll go only to that stage. I hope that makes sense, man.
I just wanted to reconfirm my understanding after hearing you. So you meant that if we are in the material world and then it goes in the stages, but if my constitutional position is Dasya only, then I'll stop at that stage. But if it is higher, then slowly I will progress to the next stage, going till the stage which is my original constitutional position. Is that what you meant, Prabhu?
So this process is nothing but Swarup Siddhi. If a person's Swarupa is Madhurya, he will gradually evolve through these and go to the Madhurya stage. And this will be actually more clear when we read the pastimes of Gopkumara in the second part of Brihad Bhagavatam.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, Reshamadi, please go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, as you said last time also, like a 3-year-old boy in Golok Vrindavan, maybe they have the Santarasa. And my question is, in Golok Vrindavan, they grow, right? I mean, from 3 years old to teenage or somewhat, they'll grow. And then their rasa also changes. I just got confused after that.
This is actually a very significant question. I'll say, in the spiritual world, there are no transformations happening. In the spiritual world, so there is no birth, there is no old age, there is no disease, there is no death. So the 6 transformation that we see in this world, birth, growth, they are all absent in the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, a living entity who is a 16-year-old, he remains always 16-year-old. Living entity who's like Purnimasi, she's an old lady. She always is visible as old. So this is actually very significant to understand that there is no transformation happening in the spiritual world. Nothing transforms.
But
material transformation is absent in the spiritual world. So a child who's 3-year-old will always remain that age. But when Krishna performs his pastimes in this material world, then yes, the visibility of change or transformation is there. But as Prabhupada explained, to amazement, Krishna never grows beyond 16-year-old age. He always remains a fresh youth of 16-year-old. Even when he is in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, 125-year-old having great grandchildren, he still appears as 16-year-old boy.
so
Prabhu, this is
in our,
Madhavi here.
sorry, Mata, go ahead.
No, Madhavi, please.
So I hope that answers your question, Mataji.
Yes, last point, Prabhu. Depend upon our constitutional position, we go at what I mean. If we are in Sakya stage, our position is that maybe we can bond like that. If we are in Dasya or if we are in Sakya conjugal, so we can
Yeah.
go
So in the
Golokam.
spiritual world, nobody takes birth. He simply appears back. So all the devotees, they say, "Oh, where were you? We didn't see you for a long time." It's like, a person is gone to foreign country and coming back. And this is exactly also how it happens in the, you know, not exactly, but this is how very much similar happens in the heavenly planets as well. Though heavenly planet, there is kind of birth, but there is no death. People simply disappear. But in the spiritual world, the person simply appears, like Gokumar appeared. And everybody was amazed. Oh, who is this boy? We didn't see him for a long time. We don't remember seeing him before. But Krishna welcomes him. Oh, my dear friend, you're gone for a long time. You know, I'm so happy to have you back.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Everyone.
First, I could.
Prabhu,
Mali Mataji, you can go ahead.
yes, Prabhu. So in continuation to that question, but Krishna actually has different pastimes. Like he has pastimes when he was born, when he was growing up, and then he has pastimes when he is a youth. So is it that they're all happening at the same time in different places, or how can we understand those pastimes, Prabhu?
Mati, the Krishna's birth and childhood pastime that happens only in the material world. It doesn't happen in Golok Vrindavan. Golok Vrindavan, there's Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and Krishna as a cowherd boy, eternally residing there and performing all his Ashtakaliya Leela. So there is no childhood pastimes of Krishna in the spiritual world. Prabhupada actually mentions that this is actually a special benediction to the people in the material world, where they can see Krishna's childhood pastimes.
Mm.
And they are eternal in the sense because Krishna is always taking birth in some of the universe, all the time.
Mm.
Prabhuji,
Then
sometime back I
what about
heard to Amarendra Prabhu's class. In that he mentioned that there are different planets where Krishna is like a 2-year old. Then in another planet he's doing pastimes as 3-year old. Then he's doing pastimes as 4-year old. Like that, he said. So is it about the spiritual world, or it is different places in the material universes he's doing that leela? What exactly he meant?
In the material world, Madhuri. In the material world, Krishna is performing these pastimes in different universes.
Simultaneously he's doing of different age he's doing.
Yes, Madhuri. It's true.
Okay.
Therefore, Prabhupada gives example, just like the sun. You see the sun rising and setting for you. But there is some place on the earth where sun is constantly rising. So, like for example, Sacramento here, the sun rose around 6 o'clock. Now it's 9 o'clock. But in Hawaii, it must be rising now. And after, say 10 minutes, it will go a little beyond Hawaii. It'll be rising that place. So similarly, Krishna is appearing some universe right now. This moment when we are talking, Krishna is actually appearing in some of the universes. And even after an hour, maybe even 10 o'clock, Krishna is again appearing in some universe at that moment as well. And therefore, his Leelas are called Nitya Leela.
So at Goloka he will always be that 16-year-old boy only, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I had some follow-up on that, Prabhu. So what about this pastime about Krishna leaving Vrindavan and going to Dwarka?
And
that happen
this
in
pastime
spiritual?
also,
Yeah.
yeah, ma'am. This pastime also will be explained in the second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Actually, Sanatana Goswami explains very vividly and beautifully that in Golok Vrindavan also, Krishna does perform the pastime of leaving Vrindavan, apparently. You know? And that time Krishna only becomes unmanifest to the Brajavasis. And after some time, he again manifests that he's come back. And then people forget that he ever went to Mathura. And that goes on and on for eternity. So Krishna continues to perform his pastimes. So devotees relish Sambhoga. They actually relish Krishna's association greatly. And then again, Akrura comes after some time. After a very, very long time, again Akrura comes. And again he takes away Krishna. And again he comes. Krishna comes back. When the devotees are almost feeling immense separation and almost at the verge of death. Of course, there's no death in the spiritual world, but they're almost like at the verge of death. Then Krishna comes back. So this keeps happening again and again in the spiritual world.
Mm.
But Krishna never leaves.
Mm. Mm.
So who
Okay,
leaves
so what happens
apparently?
when?
Who
Go ahead,
leaves
Prabhu.
apparently is actually Dwarkadish Krishna. Because in Krishna, all the forms of the Lord are there. So when the devotees see Krishna leaving Vrindavan, that is actually Dwarkadish Krishna who leaves.
Thank you, Prabhu. So what
Saying
happens
something
when
further?
Krishna? Yes, Prabhu. What happens when Krishna leaves Dwarka? What happens to the residents there? Like he becomes unmanifest, or does he remain as Dwarkadish there constantly?
In Dwarka also, Krishna remains constantly as Dwarkadish.
Mm. Mm. But it's not that he's unmanifest like he's doing in Vrindavan.
Yeah, it's not like that. He's. I haven't read I don't recollect actually. There is some reference in Brihad Bhagavatam like that, but the whole focus was actually in Golok Vrindavan. So I don't recollect reading anything like Krishna becoming absent from spiritual world Dwarka. Here in the material world, yes, he is absent from Dwarka. So when when he's returning to Dwarka in the first canto, we read the Dwarkavasi, they say, "My Lord, when you are gone, we feel immense separation from you." So the separation is there in the material world, but in the spiritual world, in Dwarka, Krishna is eternally present.
Mm. Mm.
Prabhu, that's because he only comes back to Vrindavan after the Yadu Vamsha is destroyed, right? If the Dwaraka is being swallowed.
Sorry, what you said, Prabhu?
So that's after in the material pastimes, the material world, the pastimes in the material world. So when Dwaraka is destroyed and the Yadu Vamsha is destroyed, he again the crosses. I think after killing Sankasura, I forgot the series. He comes back to Vrindavan and then delivers the Vrindavan people as well. Right? He never actually really separates from the Dwaraka people.
Yeah, I think much before Masha Leela, Krishna sends all the Brajvasis back to the spiritual world. Much before Masha Leela.
I see. Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for clarifying this. Thank you.
So I think we can stop here. Thank you very much, everyone. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव जय हरे कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.